Welcome to CanHammer, your source for 40K from the Great White North. Nick here. And here's the Road to LVO Part 2. So I'm sorry it's been a little while. Well, with the holidays and all, and Darren was away at Charity Hammer. He does all the posting and stuff. And I also wanted to have like tangible progress on the army to show you before I had the next video. So that's why it's been a couple, I can't remember if it's 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. Either way, here I am. So I've got enough to report to you and enough progress to show you. LVO is in 2.5 weeks, so I still have some work to do, but I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna have a LVO army ready. Now it won't be my traditional presentation style. Like I like painting, so I like having a presentation army, one that qualifies for presentation and whatever else. But you know, this is not necessarily just slapped on paint, but it will be a little bit of a quicker job. If you remember from my previous video, I had an Alpha Legion, Red Corsairs, Chaos Knights army, and we've largely stuck with that. I'm quite happy where we've gotten. We've had to make some cuts, but we've also made some additions. I'm also happy with this because I am a Chaos player, but I've traditionally played the Plague Bearer list. After the fall of that list, I'd been like kind of practicing with Plague Marines and Plague Burst Crawlers and Lords of Change, and I actually was doing not too bad with it. It struggled actually against Iron Hands, so I had to shelve it, and to be honest, Faith and Fury gave Chaos Space Marines too much love, so and so did Chapter Approved, so I'm sticking with this. But anyways, and I'm pretty excited about it, so let's get going. So I still have Alpha Legion, a battalion, as you can see. This time I've added a Helldrake. I only had one last time, and I found that the one is just amazing. So if it's really good, why not 2 of them? There's more to that, but we'll go over it. So same thing. I've got in this my headquarters. I got 3 HQ choices. I got a Sorcerer, a Dark Apostle, and a Lord. Now, you savvy Chaos players watching this be like, that's not a Sorcerer. That's a Master Possession. You're a darn liar. Well, it is the Master Possession model, but I love this model. I think it looks great. He looks like a caster. He's got fire. So I've gotten it approved actually to use it as a Sorcerer for LVO and the other tournaments I have coming up, largely because he's my only caster, so there's never really going to be any confusion about him. So I got him. He's good for your old-fashioned kind of warp times, prescience, delightful agonies. Dark Apostle. He's the Warlord. He holds the Warlord trait. He also gives the beginning of the battle round +1 to hit or anything else that I want on an Alpha Legion unit. He comes with his 2 buddies. I got a Jump Lord with a Power Fist. All these models are kind of quickly painted because, you know, I need to get this done, and with a 5-month-old at home, I don't get a lot of time to paint. So what I'm doing is kind of just getting everything table ready, and then once it's ready and legal for the tournament, then I can start going back to older units to add like little details. But anyways, I digress. Oh, pardon me for the finger in the lens. So yeah, here we go. So he's the Lord. He's a Lord, a Jump Lord, Power Fist, so he's a lot of flexibility. He's part of the Devastation Battery with the Oblitz, so I can give him reroll 1s to wound against vehicles, the Ignore Covers Relic, and all that stuff. If I don't need that stuff, I can give him the Nurgle Power Fist, which could be decent in a pinch, say against Knights. May not see too many of them, but you never know. In that one Knight matchup, or even like Chaos Knight matchup, that could come in clutch. 3 Alpha Legion Oblitz. I know they're not everybody's favorite, but geez Louise, they do a lot of work. And when I've got such a high aggression army, I can conceal them for 2 turns. And I've found, with conceal and they're double shooting, I do so much work that by turn 3, often they're still alive and the enemy doesn't have an awful lot to get rid of them. And even like in my last game, I lost them early. I lost them turn 2, like 2 out of 3 of them turn 2. They'd still gotten their points back and cracked open a couple of things I needed to crack open. So like even at their worst, they still got their points back. So I'm really happy with how these guys are performing. I've only got 5 games in the army. So I need more games, and I'm gonna have a game tomorrow, game or two tomorrow. Hopefully a couple more before LVO. Maybe I can sneak away to a little RTT if my wife lets me. That's gonna be tough though. But yeah, so anyways, pretty decent. 3 units of cultists. Now these guys, I'm not gonna hide my shame. Yeah, these guys are just kind of basically painted. Like, I'm not spending 2 weeks on painting cultists. The rims are painted to denote unit. Gameplay wise, I love it because it's super easy. Presentation wise, it's not my favorite. We'll see if I come up with a better solution. 2 Helldrakes. These guys have just been amazing. Sometimes they die turn 1, but then the rest of my army lives to go have fun, or they don't die and then they're tagging things and chasing Eldar characters. It's I don't think I can leave home without them now. A battalion of Red Corsairs. 3 Disco Lords. That's 1 more than last time, if you recall. 3 units of 5 Chaos Marines. They give me extra CP. They're only 11 points a model. They have bolters. 1 unit actually has combat weapons. I can't complain. I've had them sit on objectives, hold objectives, live. And they've even killed Harley bikes, a couple of Harley bikes in a pinch. Can't complain. Especially that they give me extra CP. And the Red Corsairs advance and charge. Actually, people are surprised. Like, you're advance and charge with these guys. They have combat weapons with Hateful Assault. You're still dishing out, 16 attacks? That's not bad. And then finally, my Chaos Knight. He used to be in a super heavy detachment. Now he's in a super heavy auxiliary detachment. Excuse the Gatler. He actually has 2 thermal cannons. I'm still waiting for my order from Legio Models. I have a package I have to pick up at the post office, so maybe that's it. If not, I have another one, so I'll just build that at the very latest, before leaving for LVO, and he'll be, appropriately armed. He's cheap for a knight. He's flexible pre-game wise, and actually a benefit that only came across after the fact. In a super heavy auxiliary, I don't have to nominate him as a character. In a super heavy detachment, you have to nominate at least one as a character. So if I meet up a Raven Guard army, I can just choose not to give him a relic or warlord trait. He's not a character, so they don't get those cheeky bonuses to hit and wound against him. He soaks up a lot of bullets, and people are worried about taking 2d6 strength 9 AP4 d6 damage shots. I can make him, can't wound him on a better than a 4+. You can rotate his ion shields. He's, I have no complaints with him so far, to be honest. So anyways, let's go over. So I've had 5 games of the army. 3 of those games were with the previous version of the list. Mainly, it had 1 less Disco, 1 less Helldrake, and had 2 Hellbrinds. Either they were close combat or the autocannon ones. The first game I played against Iron Hands, so a couple repulsors, Thunderfire cannons, flyers, eliminators, and other stuff. Iron Handsies. So I lost that game. We were playing ETC format. However, he went first, of course. I did have 2 rounds of shooting that were actually quite poor. Though, I still did a lot of work. And that being said, by turn 3, I'd actually scored a lot of points, more so than the Iron Hands player, because the army is so aggressive in your face that he was so busy dealing with everything that he didn't have enough time to go and grab objectives and get points, which was a big benefit to me. So although by turn, I think 4, I didn't really have anything left other than troops that I was hiding to collect the last points. We didn't finish the game, time reasons, but we kind of agreed that I was probably going to squeak out 5 points out of that game. If you were familiar with the ETC format, that's actually not too bad. And who knows, had I gone first or had my first 2 shooting phases have done a little bit better, that could have been very different. And that list was with the 2 War Dogs. I have changed it to having another Disco and another Helldrake. And I think that really makes this list, just nudges it up. Although the War Dogs are the Strength 7 AP1 3 damage, which is a decent gun, except in a stealthy environment of Marines, or if there's minuses, they suffer there. If they're only on BS 4 at that point, or 5, or they're only hitting on 4s or 5s if there's any minuses. Or if there's stealthy Marines out there, their -1 doesn't do anything really. So as much as that gun is pretty good, it can suffer in this meta. And the CC War Dog is interesting. I like him, but at the same amount of points, a Disco Lord is just, he just does more. And yeah, I don't know. There's not much more to say. He does more. I do. My hesitation at first was losing those two meant I lose the Iconoclast benefit on him and 3 CP. This is a CP heavy army, but my team members mentioned to me, you know what, just be more careful with your CP. You're going to get more work out of the Disco Lord and the Heldrake that I got as a result of that. Actually, Disco Lord Heldrake and was able to make him a Jump Lord over the, Foot Lord. So, and that's been pretty good. So I'm happy with that. So anyways, lost that game. It was my first game with the list, so I obviously made some mistakes. It didn't go as well, but it's also Iron Hand, so I'm not going to beat myself up too much about it. Was still happy with the performance. Second game, Eldar. The Crafters, the stealthy ones, was against Shining Spears, Dark Reapers, Fire Prisms, Flyers, Bike, Fireseer, Bike Warlocks, like a typical good Eldar list. And that one I won handedly. Now, these guys just murdered half the Eldar army, and it was fantastic. The opponent got first turn. Normally pretty scary against Eldar, so I expect to lose a couple of things. Again, this was the old War Dog list, but this list would do better, I would think. He blew away, I think he blew away a Disco, he blew away a War Dog, he blew away a bunch of Marines or Cultists and put a bunch of wounds on the Knight. But then my retaliation was good. In his first movement phase, I was actually able to blow away a Hemlock with the Devastation Battery. It wasn't a got you. I told him, don't do that, but Hemlock with the short range, and he wanted to get into Psychic Power range. He thought he could survive it, and I was like, okay. And then I blew it right out of the sky, which was nice. And then they just walked up the board and just kept killing things. I learned from this game, though, that by turn 5, I'm running out of assets. So it's key to me to score early to keep me going into the game, which is interesting because I'm used to a list where I forego scoring the first 2 turns so that my army picks up later in the game, where this one seems to prefer to score early to keep me in a lead later. Now, if I'm winning handedly, I'll still have assets and I'll just blow my opponent out of the water. But if I'm losing, it seems sometimes if I'm losing models, it seems sometimes I've scored so strongly early that it kind of keeps me going later into the round. My next game was against Raven Guard, your typical, this one was like 16 Centurions, Thunderfires, and Eliminators. Scary, scary list. But with my screening and my Alpha Legion strats and Devastation Battery, I actually, the opponent quit. Quit. We called it at turn 3, and I won. So essentially what had happened, he opted for the, he went first. So all these games, I went second. He opted to infiltrate and do that shenanigans of having the Centurions in your face turn 1. I kind of rolled, I shot him with the Devastation Bat, rolled badly on the kind of the stats of the gun, but still managed to pull off, I think, 1.5 Centurions. He came in, killed a Cultist screen, and tried to wrap Marines, so I couldn't shoot him next turn. Because everything else was outside of 12, he couldn't declare the target. A counter charge with Disco Lords at opposite ends of the unit, so he couldn't pile in and consolidate all of his attacks into one model. And then the second, because I knew he was going to interrupt, so the second Disco Lord I was going to attack with had the Feel No Pain. All this meant that he was forced to spend his CP on transhuman physiology multiple times, which burned out his CP. And then, so I was able to kill that, advance, bait his jump characters to target this guy, and then the following turn shoot them. And then the Heldrake, the one at the time I had, was hunting Eliminators. Turn 3, he had, it was either turn 2 or 3, his Eliminators were able to shoot. So to avoid that, actually, you know what? People would have thought it was a waste, but the Knight throwing one gun into one unit and one gun in the other unit killed both units. That -4 AP was brilliant in eliminating, pun intended, that save they get. So yeah, it worked out well for me. I then changed the list. So then I played 2 games. Now all these games have been ETC, if you know the format, for reasons. My buddies, like, my buddy Jeff, who I'm playing against the ETC first round, he already pretty much knows what I'm playing, so not too worried about divulging any secrets. I'm also preparing for an ETC tournament, so that's why I'm practicing a lot of ETC games, and the reason is because, well, as much as I'm excited to go to LVO, personally I'm more invested in doing well at that CanHammer team tournament, because I love team tournaments, and I just really enjoy going as a team and whatever else. If you haven't played one, do so. Anyways, so that's why I'm playing ETC. That and I have less practice with ETC, so I got to get more practice. I will play a couple of ITC games before going to LVO, but they're still giving me an idea of how to play with the list. So the third game I played against lots of guards. So 120 or 40 guardsmen with 6 Demolisher Lehman Russes and Earthshakers and obviously the Relic Battle Cannon. Scary output, and it was the pointy Dawn of War, so it meant you're kind of restricted where you could deploy your army. We're kind of just sitting in front of each other. I seized, so I got to go first. The seize helped too, but at the same time, because of how many models he had and how restricted the deployment zone is, wasn't an awful lot extra he could do to I think to change how he deployed. Maybe a little bit back further, but honestly think me going first is more beneficial than me seizing, because me going first meant I could push these guys up. I know I'm going first. This one, because he had so much shooting that could get me turn one, I'd hit everything. These guys were basically backlined. These guys were behind a wall backlined. Everything was in the back. So getting turn one meant I was able to redeploy these, but these guys were still at the back, so they still had to run, and they couldn't get in as soon as I wanted them to. So, those seizing helped me. It's not as good as actually knowing you're going first, in my opinion. But it was a good game. These guys probably pulled off 3 tanks a turn, which was amazing. I rolled well the first turn, not so well the second turn, but between ignoring cover and just the amount of shots and the Veterans of Long War and rerolling ones against vehicles, it was just amazing. And then these guys were going around chasing guardsmen. The Helldrakes did exactly what they did. He popped off a tank or two, but then he got shot by the whole army and died. But you know what? I'm not sad about that. He did his job. And that was an excellent game. So I won that handedly. In ETC terms, I was like at 20-0. And then the next game I played was against an Eldar list of Harlequins, Bikes, Fire Prisms, Dark Reapers, Wave Serpent, and Night Spinners. Now that's a dangerous list if you've ever fought that. Typical ignores cover, and it re-rolls the crafters, so it was a very dangerous list. I got turn one, but it was on a hammer and anvil deployment, so it meant I had to run up the field. I made some mistakes. These guys ran up quick. I only had the Helldrakes to screen them. They targeted a Fire Prism and the Wave Serpent. Silly me, I haven't played Wave Serpents in a while. I forgot the Wave Serpent removes 1 of damage. So I split my fire, and I didn't kill the Wave Serpent, which prevented me from shooting again into the Dark Reapers, which was disappointing. So I lost them a little early, but they were actually still able to pull off, because I shot again, pull off the Fire Prism and Wave Serpent. So, they're still pulling their points. And then one survived and then shot something else the next turn and did some damage. So I was still happy. But whenever I normally have these guys for like 2 or 3 turns, I only had them for the 1 really. So, but by that time, everything was in my opponent's face, that they spent a lot of their time responding to my threat, having to react, versus I had the initiative there. And in ETC, this mission, I was able to raise objectives. So I raised objectives in his deployment zone. So I limited his ability to score per turn progressive mission. So that, he had he had an upturn. I had an upturn. He had a downturn. I had a downturn. And then the last turn, he was able to clear one of my objectives and scoot Harlequin Bikes over to grab that objective for like a 5-point flip in his benefit. But I still won, I think it was 16-4 ETC style, so still pretty happy with the list. Now, how do you think I'm going to do ITC? Well, ITC, you have to hold and you have to kill. Everything in my army can hold. Everything's fast. The Helldrakes are flyer, not flyer, so they can hold. everything here is very kind of killy. Everything, so, you know, they kill more. If they're killing more, they're just destroying my army, so I'm not really that worried anyways. Of course, I have these piddly units, but again, if you're shooting these guys, you're not shooting these guys, which is good for me. Secondaries, I think I limit secondary as well. You can get big aim hunter, but then it limits you for headhunter. So if you choose headhunter, it limits you for big aim hunter. There's no gangbusters. And I think Titan Slayer and King Slayer, you're only limited to 3 for him. Or actually, you can do King Slayer because I think it's per 4 points. Except I can choose to not make him a character, so then you can't take him as a King Slayer target. So that means I don't get a relic or warlord trait on him. But in some situations, that might be okay. There may not be really any relics I need, and that's often the case because he still gets to pregame. Give him the, you know, a Vow and a Dreadblade. So I don't always necessarily need a relic. So in those games, hey, I limit your ability to take Kingslayer on him. You can take Butcher's Bill, but if you're really trying to kill these guys, well, you're not killing these guys, you know. And then you run into the issue that if you overkill, you're limiting that as well. I don't have Reaper, so I think this kind of does restrict. You can mark for death, but then you run into the same issue that it limits your ability to take other like big game hunter and king. So I think this army is pretty good for secondaries. I got elements here that if I want to run engineers, I can do recon. I can do behind enemy lines if I want. I can do Butcher's Bill because everything here kills. It's designed to kill multiple units a turn. So I'm pretty happy where I'm at. And painting wise, well, you can see what I've made so far. I need to finish his gun. I got to paint these guys. They're based, and I got them washed initially. Same thing. So once I get them to a suitable level, then I can start doing details and see where I go there from there with the army. Hopefully, get a bit more details in. But other than that, I'll try to do another video just before leaving, to show you the completed army ready to go and discuss more games that I have. And then we'll go from there. What are my risks at LVO? Well, it's a Marine meta. And, even though I think I got a killing army, Marines are still really good. So, you can still kill a lot of them and they can still retaliate. So if I run into Imperial Fists, I'm going to have a bad time. And there's going to be Imperial Fist there. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. For that, I wanted to maybe throw a Lord of Change in instead of him, and then some Nerdlings or whatever, and summoning points. But the team, we agreed on that this was the list that we need, and so I'm going to get some reps in with that. So anyways, as we've already talked for a fairly long time, leave me any comments if you have any suggestions, if you have any questions. If you're going to LVO, come say hi. I'm going to be wearing my CanHammer shirt. I'm going to be taking some video to show everybody, hopefully get some interviews. That's it. If you got gifts you want me to bring back to Darren, he loves gifts, so I can bring those to him. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon.